Hey y'all, welcome back to J Music and the first video of the ukulele beginner tutorial series. Today we will find out if you can play the ukulele. Alrighty, first things first, what is the ukulele? Some of you might think that it's a mini guitar. I personally like to call it my anorexic guitar. But this is a ukulele, or some people pronounce it ukulele. The ukulele is a 4-string instrument, with the 4 strings being G, C, E, and A. The ukulele has Polynesian origins, as some of you may know. In the last century, it has become increasingly popular in the UK, US, France, and many other countries. The next question a lot of you might have is, why should you play the ukulele? Well, there's multiple reasons as for why you should play ukulele. First thing, it's a really quirky instrument that a lot of people really like the sound of and the tone. It's just a super fun instrument. It's definitely one of the easiest instruments out there to pick up, so don't be afraid of it because it might seem scary or complicated. Something else other people might be afraid of with the ukulele is the potential cost. And if you're a beginner, you don't have to worry about cost at all because it's definitely one of the cheapest instruments out there, but you won't sacrifice quality for the price. I'll leave a link in the description for a few ukuleles I personally recommend for beginners, and one of the ukuleles is this diamond head. This is the one I started out on, and I think it was only about $25-ish. The other one I recommend is the Makala Dolphin, I think. It's this really cute shiny blue ukulele with a little dolphin here on the bridge. A lot of people will like that little quirky touch there. Another advantage of playing the ukulele is it's super portable. As you can see, it's not that big. Noted this is the smallest size ukulele out there, but relative to a lot of other instruments, it's really tiny and easy to carry around. Now, there might be some of you out there who've already tried to do things with guitar, or maybe you're interested in getting into guitar. Well, first I'd recommend starting on ukulele because you learn all the same techniques, like how to strum or how to press down all the strings on the frets properly, and you learn it on strings that are a lot softer than guitar ones because these strings are nylon. They're going to be a lot softer than the metal strings on guitars. So on a ukulele, you can learn all the techniques and stuff needed for guitar in an easier and safer instrument. So at this point in the video, you might be starting to consider playing ukulele. Well, starting is super simple and easy. The first thing you want to do is buy a ukulele. Again, remember, they're super cheap if you want to get a good beginner one, and I've put a few links in the description. Quick note before I go on, just found out after recording the whole video that it stopped at 8.5 minutes. So things might look a little different now because my phone's stupid. So, continuing on, if you already have a guitar and you don't really want to invest in a ukulele, there is an option for you. If you get your guitar and you get a capo, which I'll put a link to these in the description, and they're relatively cheap, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. If you take your guitar and put the capo on the 5th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you mute the first 2 strings, which just means don't play them. So you don't want to play these strings. If you play only these 4 strings, it's like a ukulele. So that does work, but I wouldn't recommend it because for the sake of this tutorial series, it's going to be a lot more complicated to learn on a guitar than it will be to learn on your own ukulele. So again, if you are interested in guitar or you already play it, it's going to be a lot easier to get to a good point on guitar if you start out on a ukulele because the strings are softer and it's going to be a whole lot easier to learn all the proper techniques on a ukulele. Once you've done that, you can transition into guitar, and then things will be so much easier than if you had just started on guitar in the first place. So now that you're interested in playing the ukulele, how do you get started? I'm glad to tell you it's super easy, simple, and cheap to do. Step 1, you want to buy a ukulele. Now I've already gone over this. There's the diamond head and there's the blue Makala Dolphin, and you can buy those online. Again, the links are in the description, and I would recommend getting a ukulele instead of the guitar, like I said before. Step 2, now that you have your ukulele, or guitar if you ignored my advice, you want to make sure you can keep it safe. If you have a ukulele that came with one of those really flimsy, thin cases, you can't even call it a case, it's pretty much just like a paper bag. You don't want to stick with that. You want to get something a little more heavy duty so you can protect your new baby. Now, there's a lot of really pricey high-end things out there. And since you're beginning and you're not on a super expensive instrument, you just don't want to spend all that money on that. A basic guideline for looking for a case is if the case is more expensive than the instrument you paid for, don't get it. I'd put the line at the same price as the ukulele, but you guys have already spent money on your ukulele, so you probably don't want to spend too much more on a case. Once you get more invested in ukulele, at that point I would recommend you start getting your own case that is going to be a lot more protective, but also more expensive. So you have protection for your ukulele, but how are you going to keep them clean and nice and beautiful? You can get a dust cloth for starters, which you don't need to go out and buy a fancy dust cloth. You could just use an old rag or anything, but you want to make sure you can get all the dust off of your ukulele, because over time that can build up. It might not necessarily be bad for it, but it's still going to be nasty and gross. So you can see that there's stuff in there. I don't know, maybe you can see it. It's far away, but there's dust in there that's hard to get at with your fingers or anything else, but a cloth will do just fine. Now, keeping your ukulele clean and everything is important, but also the environment that you keep it in. If you're keeping your ukulele in an environment that has fluctuating humidity, that's not going to be good for it, because it can mess around with the wood and the strings. It can potentially even warp the wood of your ukulele. And another thing that'll have similar effects to the humidity is the temperature. If you have the temperature going up and down all the time, that's again going to be really bad for your strings and your wood. You don't want to just open up your case one day, going to grab your ukulele and play your favorite song, and then all of a sudden the string just snaps off, pops you in the face. That's not going to be fun, and you're going to have to learn how to replace your strings, which is also not fun. I'll be making a video of how to do that in the future also. Hopefully you've got all that down. Now we can move on to step 3, and that would be the accessories. Accessories are the fun little quirky things that you can use to make your instrument better and your playing. Keep in mind, these are optional, but they will help you a lot. The first thing I'd recommend you get is a capo. Most don't look like this. Mine is just a little cute shark, but they help change the tuning of your ukulele. So if you play a C major, it'll sound like this. But what if you want to play it, say, in C sharp? Well, it's going to be really hard for a beginner to play a C sharp chord because it's a bar chord. So instead of doing that, you can take your capo and put it on the first fret, and then just play a C major like you would normally. And it'll sound different, like it should. Back to normal. So again, capo's really helpful. I'd recommend you get one. I'll put a link to some capos in the description for you guys also. The next thing I'd recommend you have is a tuner. Now there's clip-on tuners like this. This is a Snark brand tuner, which I love them. They're super accurate and super quick. The way those work, you clip it on, turn it on, and it'll tell you if your ukulele is in tune for each string. Now there's a bunch of different brands. I've personally found Snark to be the most reliable. I'll put a link to those in the description, but they're not the be-all end-all. There's also ukulele tuner apps. Those are going to be less accurate, less quick, and if you're in a loud environment, it's going to be really hard to get it to work. I know there's definitely good ones out there for Android, and I've heard from some of my friends with Apple devices that there's also good ones out there for you guys. The last thing you guys might want to get And probably one of the least important ones for now is getting a ukulele felt pick. Now, depending on how you decide to strum, which we'll go over in a future video, you might want to get a felt pick. This is going to be a lot better for your strings than a guitar pick, which is plastic. If you get a guitar pick, it's going to wear down on your strings and potentially cause more damage than you might know or intend. If you get a felt pick, it's going to be a lot nicer to your strings and it'll sound better for your ukulele. This last thing isn't an accessory, but it is an additional thing I would recommend you get. I'd recommend you download an app from your app store that has ukulele tabs available. 3 big ones that I'd recommend are guitar tabs, ukulele tabs, and uku tabs. They're both really good apps. Some of them might require you to make an account, and some may offer in-app purchases and whatnot, but the free stuff on there is enough to help you guys out for now. I personally use the Ukulele Tabs app, and that's where I get a whole lot of my music. It's super simple, really easy to use and understand. So down to the real kicker question, can you play the ukulele? Not me, not someone else, you watching. Can you play the ukulele? Well, I'm happy to tell you, if you have both of your hands intact and working, and you have the urge to learn and keep at it, then you can learn the ukulele. You don't need any fancy music knowledge that you might have gotten back in kindergarten or whenever you took a music class, if you ever had the chance to take a music class. You can play the ukulele if you have no experience in music, all the experience. That doesn't matter. Now, some experience might help you out in some places, but you'll still be able to learn ukulele even if you don't know how to read music or if you know nothing about music. All you need to do is practice, practice, practice. Always practice. Whenever you have free time, just pick up your ukulele, learn a new chord, learn a new song, whatever you can to help you improve all the time. Because you won't see results unless you consistently practice. Doesn't have to be for hours and hours a day, but try to at least pick it up once a day for even a few minutes and just mess around on it. If you prepare with everything I've shown you in this video and you follow the rest of my ukulele tutorial series, you'll be well on your way from going from a beginner ukulele player to a master musician of the ukulele. Alright y'all, thanks for watching, and don't forget you can do it, and I'll see you guys in my next video.